Hello, and welcome to Sleepy Tales by John. Tonight, we will gently explore the science of healing. Even as you are listening to these quiet whispers, trillions of cells inside your body are still at work. They exchange signals, check for errors, and repair tiny bits of damage that you never consciously feel. There is no sound, no notification, yet everything unfolds with a precision that rivals even the most sophisticated machines humans have ever built. Healing is the default state of life. Each heartbeat is not merely a contraction, it is a flow of energy and information. Each breath does not only bring oxygen into your lungs, but also activates countless microscopic reactions that help maintain internal balance. Healing is not something that happens only after injury. It is a continuous process, unfolding even on the most ordinary days, even when you believe that nothing is happening. In the pace of modern life, however, we often fail to notice this. We become tired, tense, and forget that our bodies are constantly working to keep everything stable. This video was created to gently bring you back to that awareness, in a calm, scientific, and pressure-free way. If you enjoy journeys like this, you may like, subscribe, or leave a thought below. It helps other quiet minds find their way here, one by one. And now, allow your breathing to slow, let your eyelids grow heavy, and as your body begins to rest, we will explore together how healing continues, steady, precise, and silent. Let us begin. If your body changes every day, why do you still feel like yourself? Imagine that you are a boat drifting along the same river for many years. The water changes, the riverbanks change, and the boat itself changes too. Each day, one old plank is replaced with a new one, not all at once, just a little at a time, slow enough that the boat never needs to stop. And after many years, not a single original plank remains. Yet it is still the same boat, still on the same river, still carrying a familiar sense of continuity. Your body works in much the same way. Right now, very few cells in your body are exactly the same as they were years ago. Your skin, the layer that touches the world most directly, is constantly renewed. On average, every few weeks, the outermost layer has been completely replaced. You do not feel this happening. There is no warning signal. Yet, it unfolds steadily, accurately, without demanding your attention. Inside, the lining of your digestive system renews itself even faster. The cells lining your intestines, which face a harsh environment every day, are replaced within just a few days. This is not wasteful. It is a refined, protective strategy. Rapid renewal prevents the accumulation of damage. The body does not cling to what is worn, it actively lets go, so function can continue smoothly. Even your bones, often thought of as rigid and unchanging, are never truly still. They are continuously broken down and rebuilt. Cells that dissolve bone and cells that create bone work in pairs, responding to the forces you place on your body each day. When you move, bone learns where it needs to be stronger. When you move less, bone quietly adjusts its structure. Bone remembers how you live and rebuilds itself according to that memory. Even your blood does not stay long. Red blood cells have a limited lifespan and are constantly replaced to ensure efficient oxygen transport. Immune cells are born, complete their tasks, and disappear, making room for the next generation. No cell is kept simply because it has been here before. Its value lies in its present function, not its history. And yet, amid all these silent changes, you still experience yourself as continuous, unbroken. Your memories remain. Your personality feels familiar. The sense of "I am me" does not dissolve with each cellular cycle. This reveals something essential. Your identity does not reside in the material itself, but in the flow of operation. The body does not try to preserve every detail. It preserves the pattern, the way systems communicate, the rhythm, the relationships between parts. Healing, in this sense, is not about returning everything to a previous state, but about keeping the river from being blocked, no matter how many planks of the boat are replaced. This also explains why the body is so resilient. When one part is damaged, the body does not panic. It does not cling to broken cells. It activates replacement, regeneration, and reintegration. A wound is simply a damaged plank, and healing is the process of replacing it with new material so the boat can continue without stopping midstream. You may have scars on your body. They are the marks of plank replacement. Not flaws, not failures, but evidence that the body knew how to continue. Your identity is not lost because of a scar. It is simply written with one more line. In modern life, we often fear change, worried that if we change too much, we will no longer be ourselves. But your body tells a different story. It shows that change is the condition for continuity, not its opposite. Without constant renewal, there would be no lasting stability. This may be why rest matters so much. When you allow yourself to sleep, when you stop resisting fatigue, the body heals more effectively. Rest is not inactivity. It is when the plank replacement workshop works at its best. When you are not steering the boat, the body knows exactly which part to repair first and which can wait. The boat called you has traveled many stretches of river. It has been repaired far more times than you realize. And because of that, it continues to drift, quietly, steadily, without needing to turn back. Healing is not returning to the starting point. It is continuing the journey with renewed material. As you lie here listening, parts of you may be being replaced right now. A new skin cell forming, a fresh red blood cell entering circulation, a bone connection being subtly reinforced. You do not need to know where this is happening. You do not need to watch it. Your body learned how to do this long ago. From the story of constant renewal, we move into another layer, where quiet storekeepers protect the ability to recover when it is truly needed. In many tissues of the body, there exist special cells, often called stem cells or stem-like cells. The name can be misleading, suggesting constant activity. In reality, most of the time, these cells remain still. They do not divide, they do not repair, they do not participate in daily tasks. They wait. This waiting is not wasteful. It is a highly refined strategy. If the cells with the greatest regenerative power were always active, they would quickly be depleted or accumulate errors. So the body keeps them in a state of controlled dormancy, like night watchkeepers in a warehouse. Quiet, still, but always present. These cells hold what matters most: the blueprint, not of the entire body, but of each specific tissue: skin, blood, intestine, muscle, and more. They remember what healthy tissue looks like. They know the structure to rebuild, the density required, the level of function to restore. When everything runs smoothly, they do not interfere. But when an abnormal signal appears, they awaken. That signal may come from many sources: a scratch on the skin, inflamed tissue, or an imbalance in renewal speed. The body sends out precise molecular messages, not panic calls, but clear notices. It is time for new material. When that message is strong enough and correctly placed, the watchkeepers begin their work. They do not repair directly. First, they divide, producing daughter cells. These daughter cells gradually lose their broad potential and learn to become exactly the type of cell the tissue requires. The process unfolds step by step, under control, like a production line that turns on when needed and shuts down once the job is done. Notably, when the task is complete, some of the stem cells return to dormancy. They do not expend themselves entirely. They preserve a reserve for the next time. Healing, therefore, is not an all-out expenditure of resources. It is measured intervention at the right time, in the right place. In daily life, we rarely notice this system because when it works well, you feel nothing. Small cuts heal, intestinal lining renews, blood regenerates. Everything happens below the threshold of attention, and that very invisibility is proof that the system is functioning smoothly. But there is something deeply comforting in how the body organizes recovery. It does not ask you to supervise. It does not require you to understand every detail. It only needs the right conditions, enough time, enough nourishment, enough rest, and enough signals of safety to know that repair can happen without interruption. When stress is prolonged, those safety signals become distorted. The body prioritizes short-term survival over long-term repair. The watchkeepers remain, but they wait longer before being called, not because they are weaker, but because the environment is no longer favorable. Healing depends not only on cells themselves, but on the context in which you live. If you reflect on this in your own life, you may notice a parallel. Not every phase of healing requires action. Sometimes the most important thing is not to interfere, not to force, not to push. Like the watchkeeper's cells, sometimes the best choice is to stay in place, preserve capacity, and wait for the true signal. When you sleep, when the nervous system relaxes, when stress hormones fall, the internal environment becomes quieter. That is, when repair signals become clearer. Not because you try harder, but because the noise has faded. In that quiet, the watchkeepers can finally hear what was lost during the day. You may never have thought of your body as having such a team, cells that wait without seeking recognition or praise. Yet knowing they exist, that they guard your capacity to recover even when you are unaware, can bring a different feeling, a sense of being prepared. You do not need to anticipate every injury. You do not need to fix problems before they arise. Your body has already built that system long ago. Most of the time, it only asks that you do not interrupt it. Do not deprive yourself of sleep for too long. Do not remain in constant tension. Do not forget the basic conditions that allow this system to function when needed. As the story flows from the plank replaced boat to the watchkeepers awaiting their signal, one clear thread emerges. Healing is not a sudden act. It is a preserved capacity, a strength stored carefully, to be used only when truly necessary. And in this moment, as you lie still, doing nothing at all, those watchkeepers may still be asleep, because no urgent call has been made. And that is a good thing. It means the system is stable. There is no panic. There is no shortage. At times, however, signals become unmistakable. There are moments when the body must act immediately, not by waiting, but by launching a sequence of reactions timed with minute-by-minute precision. This happens when your protective surface is breached, when the skin, the delicate boundary between the outside world and your inner environment, is wounded. From organized silence, the body becomes a small work site, active until everything is closed again. A cut on the skin may look simple, but the moment it appears, multiple systems activate. Blood does not only flow out, it knows how to stop. Platelets quickly gather, forming a temporary plug. They adhere to the damaged vessel walls, bind together, and create an initial seal. This is not the final solution, but an emergency barrier, enough to prevent further blood loss and buy time for what comes next. Almost simultaneously, signaling molecules are released. They are not chaotic. They travel to specific addresses, calling specific teams. Immune cells arrive first, not to build, but to clean. They remove bacteria, cellular debris, and anything that might obstruct repair. Construction can only begin once the site is cleared. When bleeding is controlled and cleanup is stable, the body enters another phase, scaffolding. This is when collagen appears. Collagen is not skin. It is temporary framework, like steel beams in a building under construction. Fibroblasts migrate into the wound, laying down newly formed collagen fibers. They do not create beauty, they create structure, a foundation strong enough for other cells to attach and work. Notably, this process begins beneath the surface. Skin does not close like a zipper from the edges. It is built upward from within, layer by layer. Once the collagen framework is ready, epithelial cells begin to move, They glide across the scaffold, spreading to cover the gap. There is no crowding, no chaos. Each cell knows its place and knows when to stop. Throughout this time, new blood vessels are forming. Tiny branches grow into the repair zone, bringing oxygen and nutrients. Nerves, if damaged, begin reconnecting, slowly, precisely. Not every fiber returns to its exact former position, but the system always prioritizes restoring function before perfection. When the surface of the skin has been fully covered, when the blood vessels are working steadily, the worksite begins to shrink. Temporary cells withdraw. The collagen framework is remodeled, rearranged into a neater structure, and at this point, what remains on the surface is a scar. A scar is not a sign of failure. It is the signature of a reconstruction process that has been completed. A scar tells you that there was once an interruption here, and the body responded. It shows the speed, the direction, and the conditions of healing. A scar may fade with time as collagen continues to be reorganized, but it rarely disappears completely. Not because the body cannot, but because it does not need to erase every trace. Function has been restored. Protection has been reestablished. The task has been completed. In the way the body heals skin, there is a quiet lesson. No step is skipped. No stage is pushed forward arbitrarily. If bleeding is not stable enough, the scaffold is not built. If the scaffold is not strong, the surface cannot be covered. If the blood vessels are not ready, new tissue cannot survive. Healing is a chain of dependencies, where each step respects the one before it. When we look at a healed wound, we often see only the final outcome. But if you slow down and look more deeply, you will see a system of great patience. It does not argue with reality. It does not try to return to the moment before the injury happened. It does something else. There it rebuilds from what remains intact. Perhaps that is why skin heals best when you do not interfere too much. When the wound is kept clean, protected, and given time, each time you interrupt it. Picking a scab too early, prolonged stress, lack of sleep, the worksite must adjust again. Not because it is weak, but because the environment is unstable. In tonight's gentle flow, a wound on the skin is not only a biological example, it is a miniature model of how the body faces every disruption. From tissue damage, to prolonged stress, to small imbalances in everyday function. The body always begins with stabilization, then rebuilding structure, then restoring function, and finally leaving a mark. Not to remind you of pain, but to record that the system was once activated and did its work. As you lie still and listen, it is very possible that you have no open wound on your body right now. And yet, small work sites still exist in other lazes, in tissue, in vessels, in the immune system. They are so small you do not feel them, but they follow the same logic. No rushing, no skipped steps, no waste. And knowing that your body runs this way can bring a different kind of feeling. Not the feeling that you must fix everything immediately, but the feeling of being able to trust. Trust that when disruption happens, the system will know what to do. Trust that not everything needs your pushing. Some tasks were programmed long ago, and they happen best when you allow yourself to be still. In that stillness, the small worksite completes its job. The surface closes, the flow returns to normal, and the boat called you continues drifting, carrying even the marks that have been healed as a natural part of the journey, not heavy, not needing to be hidden, simply having passed through and still continuing. And as the small worksite on the surface of the skin gradually closes, as the protective layers have been built and the flow returns to its familiar rhythm, the story of healing does not stop there. Because beneath that calm skin, there are deeper structures listening to the world in a very different way. If skin responds to a cut, then the skeleton responds to force, not through immediate pain, but through a slow, steady process of learning, as if it is remembering how you live. We often think of the skeleton as a rigid, motionless frame whose only job is support. But that is only the surface. In reality, bone is living tissue, rich in cells, rich in blood vessels, and especially sensitive to what you do every day. It does not repair itself when cut the way skin does. It continuously remodels based on pressure, weight, and the direction of movement you place upon it. Inside bone are cells called osteocytes, the force sensors. They are scattered throughout the hard mineral network, yet they are not isolated. They connect through tiny channels, just enough to pass information along. Each time you stand up, walk, lift something heavy, or simply shift your posture, that force travels through bone, and the osteocytes sense it. They do not measure force in numbers. They sense it through tiny deformations, bone bending a little, vibrating a little. And from those microscopic changes, osteocytes send out bulletins. This area is under a lot of load, or that area is being neglected. Those bulletins are delivered to two other teams of cells, a team that breaks down, osteoclasts, and a team that builds, osteoblasts. If a region of bone regularly bears load, like the femur when you walk, or the arm bones when you carry, then the building team is prioritized. They deposit more mineral, making bone thicker and stronger in exactly that place. Conversely, if a region is rarely used, the breaking down team quietly works, removing excess material. Not to weaken you, but to optimize. Bone does not carry what it does not need. This process continues throughout life. Not fast, not sudden, but very consistent. And because of that, bone is considered a system that learns. It does not learn through consciousness, but through repeated experience. The way you move, your bones gradually take on a form that matches that way. If you sit a lot and bear little load, bone adapts differently. There is no judgment, only feedback. One of the clearest examples of this mechanism comes from microgravity. When astronauts live in space, their bones no longer have to resist gravity the way they do on Earth. Even if they exercise regularly, the forces are still different. The result is a gradual decrease in bone density. Not because the body forgets how to maintain bone, but because osteocytes keep receiving the message, the forces here are no longer as important as before, and the system adjusts accordingly. What is notable is that when astronauts return to Earth, when gravity returns, bone can recover, slowly, but it can. The building team is called back. Minerals are deposited again. This shows that healing is not only about fixing a specific injury, but also about the ability to return to a state that fits a new environment. In everyday life, you rarely think about bone in this way. You do not feel it changing. You do not hear it working. But every time you walk, stand up, climb stairs, or simply keep your balance, bone is recording. It does not need you to force it. It only needs repetition. That is gentle enough, steady enough. There is a clear parallel between how skin closes a wound and how bone remodels. Neither one tries to return to an ideal original state. Neither one seeks perfection. Both seek fitness. Skin leaves a scar when needed. Bone thickens where load is placed. Each change is an intelligent response to real conditions. And like skin, bone is strongly influenced by the internal environment. Lack of sleep, prolonged stress, hormonal disruption. All of these interfere with the signals osteocytes send. When the body remains in a constant alarm state, prioritizing short-term survival, long-term building is delayed. The builders do not disappear, but they wait for another time. This explains why small, consistent changes matter more than large efforts that come and go. Bone does not respond well to bursts that vanish. It learns best from repeated messages. I need you here. I use you often. I place my trust in this structure. In the context of healing, the skeleton offers a different message from the skin. Skin teaches us about repair after a disruption. Bone teaches us about adaptation within continuous flow. One reacts when injury is obvious. The other adjusts based on habits, daily rhythm, and how you exist in space. As you lie still right now, you may not be creating new load for your bones. But rest is also part of the learning cycle. After bearing load, bone needs time to deposit minerals, to remodel. Without rest, the builders cannot finish their work. So even in this quietness, the system is still processing the messages you sent during the day. There is a deep sense of safety in knowing that your body does not only repair, it also learns from experience. It does not demand perfection. It simply records what you do most often. And over time, it adjusts to support you better, in the way you truly live. If you are tired, if you feel overloaded, your bones may be carrying those messages too. Not to judge you, but to wait for a different rhythm. And in the slowing of tonight, as you allow yourself to rest, you are sending a signal that matters just as much. Now is the time for the system to integrate, not to carry more. From skin closing a wound to bone learning how to bear force, the story of healing becomes clearer. Not as an instant miracle, but as a biological intelligence, knowing when to act, when to adjust, and when to rest. And in this silence, that intelligence is still working, steady and enduring, to support the boat called you, not only through past wounds, but through the ordinary days that continue to flow. And after the skeleton has shown us how the body learns from force, from habit, from the things repeated each day, the story of healing moves deeper still, toward an organ that does not only learn and adapt, but holds a rare ability. The ability to regenerate. Here, healing is no longer only repair or reinforcement, it becomes rebuilding. And the central character of this chapter is the liver. The liver rarely receives much attention. It does not beat like the heart, it does not feel like skin, it does not move like muscles. But in that quietness, it is one of the hardest working organs. It filters blood, processes toxins, regulates energy, synthesizes proteins, and maintains chemical balance for the whole body. And most remarkable of all, the liver can regrow. Not in a mythical sense. The liver does not regrow like a lizard's tail. But if part of the liver is lost through injury or surgery, the remaining part can proliferate to restore mass and function close to the original. This is not common in the human body. Most other organs repair only to a limited degree. The liver is different. It preserves a backup program for special situations. This mechanism does not activate without reason. It begins with signals. When liver tissue is lost or injured, blood flow through the liver changes. Pressure, nutrient concentrations, and signaling molecules in the blood shift as well. The liver recognizes that its current mass no longer meets demand. And from that recognition, a chain of responses is set in motion. Liver cells, normally stable and dividing only rarely, wake up. They enter the cell cycle and create new cells. Not all at once, not chaotically. The process is tightly coordinated by hormones, growth factors, and internal signaling networks. The liver does not grow without limit. It grows only until it reaches a proportion that fits the body. If you imagine the liver as a city, this process is like the city expanding itself after a district has been destroyed. No outside architect, no central command. Infrastructure adjusts. Roads, meaning blood vessels, expand to supply oxygen and nutrients to new areas. Functional zones are rebuilt so that every operation can continue smoothly. What is notable is that the liver does not try to recreate the old shape with absolute precision. It does not copy every lost detail. What it restores is the capacity to work. Function matters more than form. As long as the liver can filter blood effectively, regulate metabolism, and keep the inner environment stable, the mission is considered complete. In the story of healing, the liver offers a powerful message, spoken in a very quiet voice. Not every loss is an ending. Not every injury can only be patched. There are systems in the body designed to grow after a deficit, but they do so only when conditions allow. The liver cannot regenerate in an environment that is continuously poisoned. Alcohol, toxins, chronic inflammation, all of these blur signals and obstruct recovery. Not because the liver is weak, but because the noise is too great. The system works best when it has enough calm to distinguish what is a signal worth responding to and what is just noise to ignore. This creates a clear link to what we have said about bone and skin. Skin needs a stable environment for the worksite to finish. Bone needs steady rhythm to learn. The liver needs permission from the internal environment to reopen its regeneration program. Healing is not force. It is cooperation between the body and the conditions of life. In daily life, the liver often carries more than it needs to. It processes not only nutrients but chemical and biological stress. Yet even when challenged, it tries to keep the system running. And when it is allowed to rest, especially during deep sleep, cellular repair processes in the liver become stronger. Enzymes are adjusted. Damaged proteins are replaced. Small injuries are handled before they accumulate. There is something easy to miss. The liver does not have many sensory nerves. When it struggles, you rarely feel clear pain. This makes the liver a silent laborer. It works, it repairs, it adapts, but it rarely speaks. And so the story of its regeneration is often mentioned only when something major has occurred. In the bedtime flow of tonight, the liver appears not as a spectacle meant to amaze. It appears as a gentle reminder that your body has capacities far beyond what you can feel day to day. That there are organs that do not merely endure, but can reorganize themselves when needed. As you lie still now, your liver is still working. No attention required, no cheering needed. It adjusts energy flow, processes what remains from today, and prepares for tomorrow. If there is a small injury, it handles it. If there is an imbalance, it recalibrates. And if everything is stable, it stays steady, no more, no less. From bone learning how to bear force, to the liver learning how to regenerate, the picture of healing becomes clearer. The body does not only fix what is broken, it reshapes itself to fit a new reality. And each system does so in its own way, at its own pace, and with its own kind of silence. In this quiet, you don't need to track every process. You don't need to control every reaction. The most important thing you can do is not get in the way. Rest enough. Reduce the noise. Allow the system to tell what is a real signal. And after the liver has shown us that the body doesn't merely repair but can also reorganize itself, the healing story moves into an even more delicate territory, where there is no explosive proliferation, no city expanding, only very fine threads searching for their way back home. Here, healing doesn't happen through speed, but through absolute patience. The main character of this chapter is the nerve. Unlike skin or the liver, the nervous system is not built to renew itself often. When it is injured, it cannot simply build faster. It must find the path again. And that journey is so slow it is almost impossible to feel. Yet in that slowness, we see a different kind of intelligence in the body, an intelligence of direction. When a peripheral nerve is injured, information no longer travels fully, sensation becomes faint, movement turns clumsy. But healing doesn't begin with withdrawal or compensation. It begins with chemical signaling. Molecules are released at the injury site, creating an invisible trace in the surrounding tissue. Not a clear road, but a gradient, a rising concentration that tells the nerve fiber which direction is right. On that journey, Schwann cells serve as quiet landmarks. They don't carry electrical impulses, they don't hold the message, but they line up, forming tiny guiding tubes around the route the nerve fiber needs to take. You can imagine them like very dim streetlights, just enough to point the way, not enough to light up the whole street. A new nerve fiber doesn't jump to its destination. It crawls, millimeter by millimeter. Each day, only a very short stretch. If the environment is stable, if the signals are clear, the journey continues. If there is prolonged inflammation, scar tissue, or noisy signals, the fiber can lose its way. And then the body does not panic. It finds a detour. Sometimes, a region of lost function is not restored by the original nerve at all, but by redistribution. Neighboring nerves expand their territory. The brain learns to interpret new signals. This is not failure. This is adaptation. The nervous system does not have to return to the exact original structure. It prioritizes usable function. What is remarkable is that the entire process unfolds in silence. There is no sensation of healing, no clear sign for you to track step by step. And so it is easy to become discouraged if you judge it by visible progress. But if you pull your view back far enough, you will see a consistent logic. The nervous system does not give up. It simply moves more slowly than every other system. There is one important difference between nerve healing and the healing of other tissues. Skin needs time. Bone needs load. The liver needs growth signals. Nerves need consistency of environment. Each day calm enough oxygen, enough nutrition, enough rest. Any prolonged disruption, chronic stress, long-term sleep loss, systemic inflammation, blurs the chemical cues the nerve fiber is following. So in many cases, what helps nerves recover is not aggressive intervention, but reducing the noise. No forcing, no comparing, no demanding quick results. The nervous system doesn't respond well to pressure. It needs safety to move forward. Perhaps that is why nerve healing is often tied to a sense of fragility. You don't know whether you are improving or standing still. But inside, every day that passes under the right conditions is a day that has moved a little farther. And those little distances, added together, become a difference that only time will let you see. The brain is deeply involved as well. It doesn't wait for the nerve to fully recover before adjusting. It learns in parallel. It updates the body map. It tries new routes. And each time a route works, it reinforces that connection. So nerve healing is not only the story of tissue, it is the story of learning. This continues very naturally from the story of the liver. The liver regenerates through growth. Nerves regenerate through orientation. One expands, one finds its way. Both need the right signals and a calm enough environment, and both show that the body does not heal by a single template. It chooses a strategy suited to each system. As you lie here listening, you may not have any nerve in your body that must travel a long distance to find its path again. But your nervous system is still doing something similar on another level. Rebalancing. After a day of heavy stimulation, it lowers alarm signals. It raises rest signals. It rearranges pathways that have been overloaded. And this process, too, happens slowly, little by little. There is something deeply comforting in knowing that your body has not only strength, but also persistence. Not the kind that clenches and strains, but the kind that does not quit, even when progress is very slow. A nerve doesn't need you to push. It only needs you not to frighten it. And in this quiet night, as you allow yourself to loosen, as your breathing becomes steadier and your heartbeat slows, you are creating exactly what the nervous system needs most: a low noise path. No bright lights, no complicated directions, just enough calm for the chemical traces to become clear. From the worksite on the skin, to the skeleton that learns, to the liver that regenerates, and now to the nerve that finds its way, the picture of healing becomes whole. No miracles, no leaps, only different systems, each moving at its own rhythm, yet sharing one goal: to to keep the boat called you drifting on, unhurried, unlost, along the river of time that is slowing down with the night. And while nerve fibers inch forward millimeter by millimeter to reclaim their path, there is another system that always moves faster, wider, and is present everywhere: the bloodstream. If nerves are small roads that need quiet to orient themselves, then blood is the body's living communication network, carrying not only oxygen and nutrients, but also messages about where healing is needed, when, and how. From the patience of nerves, tonight's story flows into the steady current of blood, where healing is coordinated by signals, not commands. We often think of blood as transport, oxygen from lungs to tissues, waste returning to liver and kidneys. But that is only the most visible part. In truth, blood is a sophisticated communication system where every component carries information. And within that system, platelets play a role that is both humble and decisive. Platelets are tiny. They have no nucleus. They don't live long. But when there is a disruption, a torn vessel, an injured tissue, platelets are the ones who arrive first. They cling to the exposed vessel wall, stick to one another, and form a temporary plug. That action seems simple: stop blood from spilling out. But that is only the first layer of the story. The moment they attach, platelets begin to release information. From small internal granules, they release a cascade of growth factors and signaling molecules. These are not vague signals. Each type carries meaning, calling immune cells to clean up, telling fibroblasts to prepare scaffolding, reminding endothelial cells to open the way for new vessels, inviting repair proteins to join at the right time. In other words, platelets both block the doorway and send invitations. They don't build directly, they coordinate. And this coordination happens within the first few minutes, faster than any other system. While nerves are still registering the injury, while deeper tissues are still assessing the situation, blood has already begun to talk. What is fascinating is that the bloodstream does not send messages in only one direction. It also collects feedback. As tissue begins to repair, as inflammation settles, the signaling profile in blood changes. Emergency messages fade, maintenance and remodeling signals rise. Blood continuously updates the status of the worksite and distributes resources accordingly. In the healing narrative, blood serves as the conductor. It doesn't hold a hammer, it doesn't carry beams in its hands, but it keeps time for the whole orchestra. If the tempo is too fast, tissues aren't ready. If it is too slow, repair is delayed. And when the tempo is steady, every other system, skin, bone, liver, nerves, can do its work without collision. There is something very subtle in the way blood communicates. It depends strongly on the state of the whole body. Under prolonged stress hormones alter signals in the blood. Some repair messages are drowned out by survival messages. When you sleep enough and your circadian rhythm steadies, blood carries different signals. Softer, more long-term, more supportive of rebuilding. This creates a direct link between the feeling of safety and the ability to heal, not in a vague emotional sense, but in a very specific biological one. When the nervous system is less vigilant, when the heartbeat steadies, when breathing becomes even, the chemistry of the blood changes. And those changes determine what platelets and signaling molecules will say to tissues in the night hours. Especially when you sink into deep sleep, the bloodstream shifts into a different mode. Pressure lowers, flow steadies, restorative hormones rise. This is when repair invitations are delivered most clearly, without rushing, without overlap, each system receiving exactly what it needs. Perhaps that is why so many healing processes work best when you sleep. Not because you are doing nothing, but because the noise has dropped. Blood no longer has to compete between too many priorities. It doesn't have to carry alarm signals and rebuilding signals at the same time. It can do one clear thing: connect the places that need healing. When we look back at earlier parts, the thread becomes obvious. Nerves need quiet paths. Blood provides maps and schedules. The liver needs signals to regenerate. Blood carries them. Bone needs to know where load is. Blood reflects that through hormones and growth factors. Skin needs scaffolding and coverage. Blood brings materials and invitations on time. And platelets, small as they are, open many of these stories. They don't wait for orders. They respond the instant there is disruption. But their response is not panic. It has structure, sequence, a stopping point. There is a special kind of reassurance in knowing that you carry a system like this within you, one that doesn't require you to monitor every minute or understand every term. It only needs you not to disrupt its rhythm. Rest when you need. Breathe slowly when you can. Sleep when it's time. As you lie still now, your blood is still moving. It carries oxygen. It carries energy. And if there is any place that needs repair, even something tiny, it carries the message too. Quietly, without demanding your attention, simply working. And when the bloodstream has done its messenger's work, when repair signals have been sent throughout the body, the healing story reaches the most important time of day, the time most of us mistake for doing nothing. Yet in truth, it is when the largest repair workshop turns on its lights. That time is called sleep. Sleep is not a shutdown. Your body does not enter complete rest. It simply switches into maintenance mode, a deeper, slower mode, far more efficient for repair. As consciousness withdraws, as you no longer have to react to light, sound, and the day's endless small decisions, resources are freed. And immediately, healing systems begin to work more strongly. One of the clearest changes in deep sleep is hormones. Growth hormone, scarce in daytime, rises more during the first deep sleep cycles of the night. This hormone is not only about childhood or height. In adults, it plays a central role in tissue repair, protein synthesis, and cellular renewal. Skin, muscle, bone, liver, each one listens to this signal. At the same time, the immune system shifts into a different rhythm. By day, it prioritizes fast response, ready to face outside threats. By night, as the risk of intrusion falls, the immune system moves into a review and tune mode. Immune cells check small damage, remove aging cells, and recalibrate inflammation. Not loudly, not urgently, but with great care. And at the center of these changes is the brain. When you sleep, the brain does not stop thinking in a biological sense. It simply stops taking in new information from the outside world. This allows a special system to work more powerfully. The glymphatic system, the brain's cleaning system. In deep sleep, the spaces between brain cells expand. Cerebrospinal fluid flows through brain tissue more effectively, carrying away metabolic waste the brain cannot fully clear during the day. You can picture it as tidying a room. Leftover molecules, accumulations from a day of activity, are gathered and taken away. This is a crucial part of maintaining cognition, emotion, and nervous system resilience. What matters is that this cleaning process depends heavily on sleep depth. Fragmented sleep, frequent waking, or sleeping under stress makes the system less effective. Not because the brain refuses to work, but because conditions aren't calm enough for the space to open. Looking back at what we've covered, the connection is simple. Nerves need calm to find their way. Blood needs steady rhythm to communicate. The liver needs clear signals to regenerate. Bone needs rest time to deposit new material. Sleep is the shared environment, where all those conditions are met at once. In deep sleep, the heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, breathing becomes smoother, stress hormones decline. The entire system sends one unified message. Now it is safe to repair. And when that message is clear enough, the workshops inside you can work without competing with other priorities. There is a very different way to look at fatigue when you place it in this context. Fatigue isn't only a lack of energy. It is often a sign that the repair workshop hasn't had enough time to run. When you sleep too little, or when your sleep isn't deep, the body keeps operating, but the maintenance tasks pile up. And at some point, exhaustion arrives, not because you are weak, but because the system hasn't been serviced at the right time. In modern life, we often try to extend our waking hours as if sleep were an interruption. But biology tells a different story. Sleep is an active part of healing, not a passive one. Without deep sleep, repair processes still happen, but more slowly, less efficiently, and more easily thrown off course. That doesn't mean every night must be perfect. The body is very good at compensating, but when sleepless nights become a long-term state, the repair workshops have to work under non-optimal conditions. And like any system, that leads to wear. In this quiet space, as you listen, it's very possible your body has already begun preparing for the night shift. Your core temperature drops slightly, melatonin rises, your brain shifts its waves, your blood adjusts its rhythm. There is no alarm bell, no schedule board. Everything unfolds in a sequence that has been practiced for millions of years. There is something deeply comforting in realizing you don't have to do anything to heal while you sleep. You only have to allow sleep to happen. The rest has already been arranged. And as you let yourself sink, as awareness softens, it isn't the moment everything stops. It is the moment the most important work begins. From the bloodstream carrying messages to the repair workshop turning on its lights in sleep, the healing story has reached a pivotal point. Not a climax, not a conclusion, but a handover. From day to night, from activity to maintenance, from attention to restoration. And in this moment, as your breathing grows steadier, as your thoughts become fewer, you are doing the most beneficial thing for your body without effort. You are creating the conditions for hormones to recalibrate, for immunity to review, and for the brain to clean house. No pushing, no controlling. And when the repair workshop has turned on its lights in deep sleep, when hormones, immunity, and the brain have each found their proper rhythm, the healing story moves down into the deepest layer, where it is no longer tissue, no longer an organ, but the code of life itself. Here, healing doesn't happen on the surface. It happens in tiny characters, in sequences of information the body uses to read itself. This is where DNA is patched, where the body remembers what it has healed before, and where the biological clock keeps time for the entire process. DNA is not a motionless book. Every day it is affected by heat, by oxygen, by internal chemical reactions, and by the outside environment. Typos appear more often than we might think. But what matters isn't whether errors occur, it's how the body handles them. And at this deep level, the body carries a repair team of extraordinary precision. There are enzymes whose job is to scan for errors. They glide along the DNA strand, checking each pair of letters. When they detect a mismatch, they stop, cut out the damaged portion, and patch it with the correct material. Sometimes only one letter needs fixing. Sometimes an entire segment must be replaced. Everything happens in silence, without the participation of consciousness, and much of this process runs most efficiently when you sleep. When stress signals have lowered, when the internal cellular environment is steadier. This follows naturally from what came before. Sleep is not only time for tissues to recover, it is a quiet interval for information to be edited. If daytime is when the body reads and uses the code, then nighttime is when it checks and corrects. Without this checking, mistakes would accumulate. But with continuous repair, most deviations are handled before they become problems. Alongside error correction, the body does something else that is equally subtle. It remembers. Not in the sense of conscious memory, but as tissue memory. When an area has been injured and healed, that area responds faster if it faces a similar situation again. Local cells, blood vessels, and the local immune system have learned how to coordinate. Next time, signals are sent earlier. Resources are mobilized more efficiently, not because the body is afraid, but because it has experience. This memory does not live in the brain. It is spread through tissues, in the way cells respond to signals. And this shows that healing is not a series of isolated events. It is an accumulating process. Each time you heal, the body doesn't merely return to stability. It also upgrades its ability to respond. But for all of these deep processes to run smoothly, there must be a shared coordinating rhythm. That is where the biological clock comes in. This clock isn't located in one single place. It is a network of signals, synchronized by light and darkness, by when you wake, eat, move, and rest. Morning light acts as a start signal. It helps synchronize hormones, regulate cortisol rhythm, support serotonin production, and indirectly influences vitamin D. When the day-night rhythm is clear, repair processes keep a stable schedule. Daytime is for use, nighttime is for maintenance. Each task has its time. When that rhythm is disrupted, sleeping too late, waking irregularly, extended exposure to artificial light, the biological clock becomes blurred. And when coordination fades, even the most sophisticated repair systems work less efficiently, not because they are weak, but because the timing is no longer clear. This offers a very different perspective on healing. It doesn't always require more intervention. Sometimes the most needed thing is restoring rhythm, so the repair enzymes know when to work hardest, so tissue memory can be reinforced at the right time, so hormones and immunity don't have to compete for resources. In the gentle flow of tonight's story, this deepest layer is not meant to overwhelm you with complexity. It is meant to give you a different feeling, the feeling of being looked after. That even at a level you can never reach with consciousness, your body still has systems checking, patching, remembering, and coordinating. As you lie still, as your thoughts thin out, it's very possible that inside each cell, enzymes are at work. Without needing your attention, without needing you to understand each step, they only need an environment stable enough to continue. And that stability begins with simple things: light at the right time, darkness that is deep enough, and sleep that is not fragmented. There is great comfort in realizing that healing is not only a reaction to injury. It is a long-term strategy, encoded, remembered, and coordinated through time. The body does not wait for a major problem before acting. It corrects errors continuously, little by little, the way a skilled craftsperson always checks their tools after each day's work. From the bloodstream carrying information, to sleep turning on the repair workshop, and now to the deep layer of DNA and the biological clock, the healing story completes its circle, not with a sharp conclusion, but with trust. Trust that your body doesn't only react, it also prepares. It doesn't only repair, it also learns and remembers. And when the smallest errors have been patched at the depth of DNA, when the biological clock has kept time for each system, the healing story doesn't close with one final mechanism. It opens in another way, wider, softer, and more encompassing. Because the body does not exist as a set of separate machines. It lives inside an ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, emotion, belief, and connection are not side factors. They are coordination signals. At this level, healing is no longer only a biological reaction. It becomes a whole body state. When the body feels safe, restorative processes open. When the body feels threatened, even if that threat is only psychological, those processes slow down. Not because the body is fragile, but because biology always prioritizes survival before long-term repair. Chronic stress is a clear example. Under stress, cortisol rises. Cortisol helps you respond quickly, focus, and endure in the short term. But if it remains high for too long, it suppresses many healing processes, lowering immunity, slowing tissue regeneration, and scrambling repair signals. The body doesn't stop healing completely, but it works under more difficult conditions. By contrast, when a sense of peace appears, even briefly, biology responds immediately. Heart rhythm steadies, breathing deepens, vagal tone increases. These changes are not abstract. They lead to reduced inflammation, improved immunity, and a more supportive environment for recovery. Peace, in biological terms, is a safety signal. Laughter and tears are two very different paths to the same place. When you laugh, the body releases endorphins and oxytocin, calming the nervous system and reducing the perception of pain. When you cry, pressure is released, cortisol gradually falls, and biological rhythms begin to reset. Both are ways the body relieves load, so the system can return closer to balance. Slow practices, deep breathing, gentle meditation, or simply sitting still and noticing your breath send the same message. The present is safe enough. And when that message is repeated, the body begins to reopen. Processes it had been keeping at minimum. Inflammation eases. Heart rate variability improves. The immune system fine-tunes itself more delicately. Gratitude and compassion, kindness toward yourself and others, also carry measurable biological effects. They are linked to lower stress hormones, better cardiovascular function, and increased resilience after illness. Not because the body believes in goodness in a vague sense, but because social safety changes internal chemistry. Here, the placebo effect is no longer something to argue about. When someone believes they are being cared for, when they are heard, when they feel not alone, their body truly changes. The brain releases different neurotransmitters, the immune system responds differently, pain perception shifts. This is not self-deception. This is the biology of reassurance. Touch, a hug, a hand placed gently, activates oxytocin. Oxytocin calms the nervous system, reduces the stress response, and deepens the sense of connection. In this state, the body prioritizes maintenance and repair over defense. It is no accident that effective healing environments often come with care, slower rhythms, and a feeling of belonging. When we step back and see the whole journey of tonight, cell renewal, liver regeneration, nerves finding their way, blood carrying messages, sleep turning on the repair workshop, DNA patching errors, and the biological clock keeping time, we find one common thread. Healing needs conditions. And the most essential condition is safety. Safety is not the absence of problems. It is the sense that problems can be handled without panic. When the body receives safety signals, it does what it was designed to do: repair, renew, and balance. When those signals are missing, it tightens, conserves, and waits. Right now, as you lie still, as your breath has slowed since the beginning, you are creating that signal. No forced positivity, no perfect thoughts, simply staying in rhythm. And that rhythm tells the body, now it's okay to rest. Healing, then, is not a destination. It is an environment, an ecosystem, where biology, emotion, and connection coexist. When that environment is supported, the deepest mechanisms run smoothly. When that environment is disrupted, the body still tries, but with more obstacles. You may not control every factor in life, but you can create small moments of safety. One slow breath, one kind sentence to yourself, one full night of sleep, one honest connection. These do not replace medicine. They clear the path for biology to work better, and that may be the most fitting closing for tonight's healing story. Not a promise that everything will be okay immediately, but the trust that your body knows how to heal when conditions allow, that inside you is an ecosystem refined over millions of years, simply waiting for safety signals to run at its full capacity. As you allow yourself to sink a little more, as thoughts grow fewer and the body feels heavier against the bed, you are already participating in that ecosystem. No effort, no control, only presence. And in this quiet presence, healing is not something you must achieve. It is something that is happening, very softly, very precisely, while the boat called you drifts slowly through the night, held by safety signals, gentle connections, and a biological system always ready to work, as long as you allow yourself to rest. Good night.